Barracks on fire. Let's get higher. Put a little bit of shit, put a little bit of shit, put a little bit of shit. I'ma make it burn, I'ma make it burn, I'ma make it burn, I'ma make it burn, I'ma make it burn,
And we are live. Welcome, everybody. An impromptu live stream for tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Whether you're watching now or you're watching in the future, what you are watching is the Barracks, your non-Euclidean intelligence network, bringing you breaking headlines, theory, geopolitics, that that people's deep state that we've come to rely on for that pro-Palestinian narrative, which is becoming the groundbreaking force all around the world. The awakening of a multipolar world that began last year within the Russian sphere of influence expands exponentially every single day in the Islamic world. And we're feeling those ripples right here in America, even under the immense, probably the most immense propaganda campaign in the heart of the globalist empire in the United States of America. We are happy to be fighting the information war in the largest, the largest empire of lies that history has ever known. So we thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching on X.com or on YouTube. Just have to fix the technical difficulties. Live streaming to Rumble. We are on Rumble. All of the links will be in the chat here. Putting that in the chat here on YouTube. Let's see if I can put that in the chat here on the X live stream as well. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Just gonna quick housekeeping. Yeah, let's get some people in the room here. I don't know if you heard, but the Barracks is growing bigger every day, more powerful, more bloodthirsty. Our horde is insatiable. We lust for combat. We lust to make a name for ourselves in the killing fields of the internet, fighting the information war and winning, ratioing the Zionists, the war pigs, the banksters, the fraudsters, the wastrels, the malformoids, leftists, rightists, Trotskyites, neocons, all of them bow before the might of the Barracks. We thank y'all for tuning in. I'm going to actually remember to put the ticker up this time. Last couple of live streams, I zone out and only put it up like half hour into the show. So we appreciate y'all for coming in. On the docket for tonight, we got some brief updates for the Israel-Palestine war, rather the Israeli massacre of the Palestinians that has been going on for the past 17 days. We are now entering our third week. So it's much more of the same sort of gruesome headlines coming out of Palestine and the West Bank and Gaza. But it's important to cover those details because we cannot let the world look away. We will be discussing I don't know how many of y'all read the Grazyzone. If you don't, get on that because they are on some S tier journalism over at the Grazyzone, created by Max Blumenthal, who we stand here on the Barracks. The article, I think it was Kit Clarenberg who works for them, just doing a deep dive into some of the Zionist think tanks, laying out the blueprint for what a final solution in Gaza looks like to them. So when you hear Joe Biden or Netanyahu talk about their plan for the Gaza war, that doesn't just involve indiscriminate bombing from the sky, dropping 12,000 tons of explosives over the past 17 days. This article goes into what that sinister behind-the-scenes plan actually looks like, and it's a very illuminating. It's a very illuminating look into what the real motives for Israeli occupation actually are. The financial backing, because all warfare is class warfare, and the extermination war in Gaza is no different. Ayo, Screws in a Bell in the room. 07s. Screws in a Bell. He's a real one. Shout out to you, sir. Always holding it down here in the chat room at the Barracks. Got my... yeah, part of the reason why we're starting so late is because I have to get my late night chemical fixes. I stay caffeinated every 2 hours or so every single day because caffeine is a miracle drug. Had to take a smoke break. The two miracle drugs throughout human history have been nicotine and caffeine. Don't let Big Pharma tell you otherwise. Drop everything and just pick up some nicotine and caffeine. And I don't know how many of y'all pick up on how bad my skin was when I first started doing these live streams. And again, I'm a man in my 30s with no effeminate skincare routine, so I'm not gonna be like smooth and buttery. But having picked up my smoking habit again, and drinking 3 cups of coffee a day, my skin has cleared up. So I'm telling you, pick up a smoking habit. This show is sponsored by Marlboro. I'm just kidding. I'm a Lucky Strikes guy. I would never smoke Marlboros. What am I? That's too mainstream for me. We here at the Barracks, we stand Lucky Strikes, the OG. Let me tell you something about Lucky Strikes, and I learned this from an old Bostonian man who was graced by God, having been struck by lightning and survived. Told me, and he swept floors for a living. This is real, by the way. Swept floors for a living, and he told me. He said, Lucky Strikes. Everything like the original packaging used to be green back before World War II, and at the declaring of victory for the Allied powers on Armistice Day, they had a whole campaign to switch the packaging to white for the white flag of peace to celebrate Armistice, and they never changed it back. And I thought, well, that I think is a good. It earns a sponsorship from me. Smoke Lucky Strikes, the only anti-imperialist cigarette on the market out there. True story, by the way. yes, we encourage everyone over the age of 18 to pick up a smoking habit here. So we got that on the docket. And finally, we I've been plugged into a couple of Twitter Spaces these past few days, mostly hosted by DD Geopolitics and others by uh, Soliman Ahmed and Khaleesi on Twitter. The two of them hosting some phenomenal pro-Palestinian spaces. At one point at the beginning of Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, I think uh, Ahmed and Khaleesi held down like a 3 days straight, a 3-day marathon of one continuous Twitter space just to combat all of the misinformation that was coming out in like rapid fire and to cut through the fog of war. So yeah, they are really worth a follow on Twitter. Just to they were like, and they were also the ones who broke the fake news story of the 40 beheaded babies. It was debunked right there in their Twitter Spaces. I wasn't there for it, but they do some good work over there. So we'll be talking about Mario Nawfal, who posted an article from Gizmodo talking about the seven what was it? The seven leading voices in the Israel-Palestine conflict, which the list magically leaves out. Both Gizmodo and Mario Nawfal refuse to acknowledge the rise of Jackson Hinkle, who is the number 3, soon to be, by tomorrow, the number 2 most viral account on Twitter, beating out Elon Musk on his own platform. So, in order to do a little combating of the fake news ourselves over here, we have to push back on Mario Nawfal, who is willing to give plenty of space to war criminals on his Twitter Spaces, but no shout outs to Jackson Hinkle. Mario Nawfal doesn't even make it in the top 100 of most viral Twitter accounts, most viral X accounts. We cannot let this slight stand. We must push back. This is an insult to infrared guerrillas. This is an insult to pro-Palestinian warriors. This is an insult to the working man. This is an insult to American patriots, of which Jackson Hinkle is their future president. So we'll be closing out the. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Charles. I can't put that. I can't put your comment up on the ticker here, but I do agree they are. They are cowards. For even amidst all the shadow banning, Jackson Hinkle still the number 1 voice of the pro-Palestinian movement. Amidst all the wreckers, amidst all the shadow banning, and all the feds and all the haters, has the golden horde, as he called it, on his side. And most importantly, he has God on his side. So just to give y'all a breakdown, start off the show, as I said, we would the biggest updates for today, and this is from Middle East Spectator, one of the accounts I follow on Telegram to get the latest updates on the war. So you should follow the Barracks on Telegram to get some of those updates. Recently, and this is from the past 2 hours or so, Israel has increased its border skirmishes with Syria. This is a big shame of mine, by the way, is that I am a glasses wearer, but I need these in order to read the tiny font here. Yeah, there are heavy airstrikes on Gaza continually. 12,000 tons of explosives dropped on the Gaza Strip in the past 17 days, which is approximately the tonnage of explosives dropped on Hiroshima in World War II. This on top of the ongoing lack of food, water, medicine, and electricity. What's going on here? Gaza hospitals are now without electricity and fuel. If you have seen the videos. What's good? Omics. If you've seen the videos coming out of Gaza, especially in the hospitals at night, they have no more electricity or fuel to be able to operate their hospitals, and they're working in complete darkness, having to light the paths and their operating tables with their phones. So, amidst total darkness, they are being equivalently nuked by the Israeli Air Force. A couple of noteworthy rocket barrages coming towards Tel Aviv and Israel on the part of Hamas. 20-pound rockets, about the size to make a blast radius of a couple yards, a crater about about a yard wide. Not the kind of rockets that would, and not the kind of rockets that that would do the damage of a missile coming off of an Israeli plane, which causes the kind of damage that we've seen in the Al Ali Baptist Hospital, or more recently, the St. Porphyrius Church, which were taken out by missiles. But just enough rockets that all of uh, all of Israel is just covered in air raid alerts. Heavy fighting has increased on the West Bank. This, despite the fact that Hamas, the militant leadership of Gaza, what the United States is, and 7 other countries out of the whole world have designated a terrorist organization, does not operate out of the West Bank. They are solely represented in Gaza. But as of this morning, the New York Times reports that 95 Palestinians, none of them militants, 95 civilians have been murdered in the West Bank by occupation forces, which is a small drop in the bucket compared to the 5,000 Palestinians, approaching 6,000 Palestinians, which have been murdered in Gaza. But considering that Hamas doesn't even operate out of the West Bank, highlights the fact that this is a war of extermination against Palestinians. And as of the increased fighting tonight, I'm sure those numbers will be much higher when they are reported on in the morning. As a response to Hezbollah attacks on Israel's northern border with Lebanon, the IDF carried out artillery shellings and drone strikes on Hezbollah's position in South Lebanon. 19,000, as of yesterday, 19,000 Lebanese citizens have been displaced in Lebanon, just at the level of where the border skirmishes are now between IDF and Hezbollah. And what started off as rocket fire from Israel into Damascus and Aleppo, into the Syrian airports, has now escalated to full-on airstrikes, which many accounts on X are reporting on. I posted a video of footage of the airstrikes going on that were posted by DD Geopolitics. So what began is not even a border skirmish with Syria, simply Israel just lobbing escalatory rockets their way, has now turned into just air raids. So Israel continues to be at war with 5 different countries at this point, if you're keeping track. If you count Gaza as a country, which the Israelis do. Gaza, Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq, all facing Israeli aggression. And IDF forces stormed the Jenin camp in the West Bank tonight. I believe this was the first time that they've stormed the Jenin Bank since the start of the conflict. Jenin, which also has a couple of refugee camps in it. So, as a reminder for those who don't know, not only does not only does Hamas not operate out of West Bank, there are Hamas fighters there, but they don't. Yeah, they're not operating out of the West Bank at the beginning of Al-Aqsa flood, and this was known very early on. The thousand or so, that's what the reported number. I'm not sure how real those numbers are, but the thousand or so Hamas fighters who broke out of the siege wall put in place by the Israelis had started gaining ground, pushing further and further east to attack Israeli military bases and engage in firefights with military personnel pushing further and further east towards the West Bank, and would rotate out fighters. They would push push forward on motorcycles, and when they had those motorized paragliders, they would push eastward, rotate out fighters after a couple of hours, put in fresh fighters, and they would continue pushing forward in that way of cycling out new people. They didn't establish uh, permanent forces taking up permanent positions in any particular spot. That would have been suicide for them. That was never the MO of the Hamas fighters. So they are there. There are all the Al Qassam brigades, the military wing of Hamas, has put out a statement that they do have fighters in the West Bank, and I think in Jenin, but they aren't permanently based there. They're just going again to respond to Israeli military units who are there indiscriminately imprisoning Palestinians, murdering civilians. We've seen videos of them shooting teenagers in the street. A couple, even Israeli newspapers were publishing a lot of the crimes against humanity going on in the West Bank, on top of the nuclear flattening of Gaza. Photos coming out of imprisoned civilians in the West Bank who were being tortured, having cigarettes put out on them. Guards would urinate on them, beat them up. Yeah, and these weren't Hamas militants. These were just civilians who were being tortured. And that's like Haaretz who was reporting that. Not even, not even a Palestinian source posting that. Like Israeli sources posting that. Really, really gruesome stuff. And lastly, of note, U.S. Central Command, U.S. or CENTCOM for short, announced that 24 American soldiers have been injured in attacks on U.S. bases so far since October 7th. So far, only the Islamic Resistance of Iraq has claimed responsibility for 2 drone attacks out of 3 that happened yesterday on U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria. 24 American soldiers. Why we have U.S. soldiers there is anyone's guess. Well, we know why they're there in Syria. It's to prevent Syria from having control of their native oil reserves. But it's just a reminder that we should be pulling all U.S. troops out of the Middle East. So that's the basic scope of where we are today. A brief overview of the conflict going on in the Israeli massacre of Palestinian people and their attempts to pull the entire region into an all-out ground war that would bring in the United States, which has sent carrier ships into the Mediterranean. Australia has also just announced that it will be sending military equipment to the area. I think warships. I need to look up the article, but Australia is getting involved now. None of them have any chance in hell of beating a united Islamic axis of resistance, against the great Shaitan, which is Israel. The demise of Israel is all but guaranteed. We've seen them showing their ass quite a few times. But that won't stop the war pigs in the West, primarily in Washington D.C., pulling the strings from pulling the rest of us into another world war. Yeah, Australians have sent their best boomerangs. This is why, yeah, this is why, like, I don't say this out of any sort of prejudice. I mean, like, just as a statement of mathematical certainty and historical fact that it doesn't matter if Australia is sending weapons; they might as well be sending boomerangs to to Israel, because the United States might have the most number of weapons in the world now, but it has no ability to replace anything that gets destroyed in a war. Australia is no military power of note. The United Kingdom, Europe, all financed by, all kept afloat by the United and held hostage by Wall Street and the United States. America is the only actual military force of note in NATO, and the United States military, 60% of soldiers in the U.S. military are overweight or obese by the military's own reporting. Right, UK can't even patrol the English Channel. So, like, I say this out of no sort of malice or prejudice for the occupation forces of Israel. That's just a fact that our own military admits. 60% of our soldiers are obese. What kind of yeah, what kind of war are we winning if we get involved? We should immediately push to end all foreign aid to Israel and make sure that our own soldiers are getting getting on weight loss plans. So, like I said, that's where we are as an overview of the past 24 hours since I last went live. Follow us on Telegram for more updates. I'll drop the link tree in the chat again, which brings us to the bombshell report for tonight. Let me share my screen here. Yeah, shout out to the Grazyzone, and once again, I know it seems like I know it seems that I spend a lot of time name dropping Jackson Hinkle for views and for engagement. But I really do have to shout out Jackson Hinkle, because, like, who recognizes the people's deep state, the power of the barracks, who get, like, the reason I felt obliged to go live tonight was because he had given us a shout out on his Telegram channel. So now the barracks is officially up to 600 followers. Hopefully we can get that many followers on our Rumble account. So you can always follow us on Rumble for when we eventually get taken off of YouTube. But where Jackson Hinkle has been the recent ally in our fight in the information war. It was Max Blumenthal who had given us our first shout out. He had retweeted the barracks 2 months ago, and that led to our first real viral moment. And we our post about the flood that had been going on in Burning Man, the Burning Man festival, had been going semi-viral, and then it got retweeted by Max Blumenthal, and that got us to like 400,000 impressions on X. That's like the most viral tweet we've had, and thanks in no small part to Max Blumenthal and the Grazyzone. He covered it later that week. it just pulled it up on his live stream. So we had gained 800 followers that week because of Max Blumenthal and the Grazyzone. So Another shout out to the Grazyzone, who was our first benefactor, the first benefactor of the People's Deep State. Yes, on your marks. We every opportunity, just because in this house, we stand for the flag, we kneel for the cross, and we salute Jackson Hinkle. An enemy of Jackson Hinkle is an enemy of mine. An enemy of Jackson Hinkle is an enemy of the people. Let's get some 07s in the chat for Jackson Hinkle. And make sure to like and subscribe to the Barracks. Let me pull up the article here from the Grazyzone. This article was, we can't be surprised at the level of depravity from the Israeli Zionist government, but it's still shocking just how just how soulless these occupation forces really are. Because it's not. I was about to call it a government, but it's not a government in the historical sense. A rational organization which acts towards the enrichment and defense of a people. Israel is a military base sitting on top of Palestine. It is not a state, a government in the historical sense. There's a reason half the world doesn't recognize it as a real country. It's because it's an occupation force. These are this has always been a genocidal project designed by finance monopolies and banksters. And this article really makes that clear, that the ongoing massacres in Gaza and the West Bank are part of this final solution against the Palestinian people. And this was written by Kit Clarenberg, who says that the Zionist think tank publishes blueprint for the Palestinian genocide. And the article begins, in a white paper released over a week after the Hamas-led surprise attack on Israeli military bases and kibbutzes, the Institute for National Security and Zionist Strategy outlined a plan for resettlement and final rehabilitation in Egypt of the entire population of Gaza, based on the unique and rare opportunity to evacuate the entire Gaza Strip that Israel's latest assault on the besieged coastal enclave provided. Yeah, if y'all will remember that was the quote-unquote humanitarian option put forward by liberals in the United States and in the IDF and the European Union, like opening a humanitarian corridor. I don't know if y'all remember that, the humanitarian corridor. Right-wing grifters on X, like End Wokeness and a couple of others, and Jack Posobiec, these intelligence assets, who were saying, like, why won't Egypt open a humanitarian corridor and allow in these 2 million refugees? Well, it turns out that is that obviously that has always been a Zionist talking point, but now we know, according to Zionist think tanks, that this is part of the final solution of ethnic cleansing, of removing 2 million Palestinian people permanently from Gaza and resettling them as permanent refugees in tent cities in the Sinai region, in the desert in Egypt. Hey, thank you, Villix. I'm going to call you Villix. Yes, Israel is just open about the same ugliness that festers and rots at the core of Western civilization. Yeah, and they're not willing to be open about it, but all of the exposure coming from the brave men and women in Gaza who are recording everything that's going on, the war crimes going on, many of them getting killed for their heroic efforts. Often the videos they take and then post onto Twitter or give to journalists are the last videos they take before dying in the air raids going on. But the article continues. This white paper was published in Hebrew on the organization's website. The paper was authored by Amir Whiteman, an investment manager and visiting researcher at the institute, who also leads the Libertarian Caucus of Israel's ruling Likud party. So that's worth mentioning in and of itself. Samira Khan was one of the speakers in, I think it was a DD Geopolitics, a Twitter space last week, where a random member of the Israeli they were a former member of the Israeli government, and they had described themselves as left wing, a left wing progressive Zionist who was pushing this same sort of humanitarian solution, a humanitarian ethnic cleansing, which really just goes to show that, like Samira Khan had said, that all of the Israeli government, or I should say, all of the Israeli occupation forces are have a consensus around this extermination of the Palestinian people. There is no two-state solution. There is no talk of a ceasefire. There is no talk of de-escalation of the conflict, whether they be libertarian, whether they be liberal, left-wing, right-wing, outright psychopathic. They all have this in common. They are all unified in the attempt to ethnically cleanse as a basis. The basis is ethnic cleansing. A second Nakba, a second catastrophe of Gaza to push them into the desert of the Sinai in Egypt. So that, I do think that's worth mentioning. The document began by noting that there are 10 million vacant housing units in neighboring Egypt that could be, quote, immediately filled with Palestinians. Whiteman then assured readers that the suitable plan aligns with the economic and geopolitical interests of the state of Israel, Egypt, the US, and Saudi Arabia. Whiteman's ethnic cleansing proposal echoes forced transfer plans advanced in recent days by former Israeli officials, while capitalizing on evacuation orders delivered to the entire civilian population of northern Gaza by the Israeli military. I'm sorry if I'm taking weird pauses. I'm trying to look up this guy Whiteman on Wikispooks. Amir Whiteman on. Yeah, he doesn't show up on Wikispooks. I use that resource a lot, Wikispooks.com, to do deep dives on this. There's hundreds of NGOs, thousands of NGOs, and hundreds of think tanks that exist. So Wikispooks is a good catalog for a lot of the bigger names. It looks like the Institute for National Security and Zionist Strategy does pop up there. So maybe we'll go over to Wikispooks after we're done reading this article to get more of a deep dive into that particular think tank, because it does help to expose these deep state spooks into the light. What's good, Eliminate? But yeah, if y'all didn't see any of these pictures, Israeli planes had been dropping leaflets. So at the same time as they drop, this is a common tactic among the Western Empire, is before bombs get dropped, they'll drop leaflets from the sky. This was true in Korea in the 50s, when the United States was in the middle of an extermination campaign of Koreans to turn their country into a colony. Before they would firebomb civilian populations, they would drop leaflets from the sky. And Israelis have been doing the same thing in North Gaza, dropping leaflets that say, if you remain in North Gaza, you will be considered a partner in terrorism. just really, just really open about the fact that they are targeting civilians for extermination. That they view all of Palestine, all of the citizens of Gaza, as complicit in in the war. And the embedded tweet here says, flyers dropped from Israeli warplanes just received this from Gaza. Israel literally asked more than 1.1 million from north and central Gaza City to leave towards the south. This is illegal and absurd. People of Gaza refuse to leave. So yeah, not just is it like illegal and absurd, even just to demand the forced displacement of a million people, that the logistics of that would cause mass suffering, even if they weren't being bombed. But we've seen videos coming out of after notices like this were given to the citizens of North and Central Gaza, the envoys that did decide to leave and make a beeline for the Rafah checkpoint shared on the Egyptian border, those envoys were bombed. Whole families taken out in their cars as they were targeted by Israeli planes. And these attempts to force people south had been a trick to get them out of their hiding places to bomb them while they were in their cars and out in the open. So yeah, it's just really horrendous stuff. So the article continues. Whiteman's sinister blueprint imagined Israel purchasing these properties at a cost of $5 to $8 billion, a whopping price tag that reflects just 1 to 1.5% of Israel's GDP. There it is. This sentence right here highlights what the extermination of the Palestinian people is all about. It's all about real estate. It's all about wiping people who have a historical and organic connection to the land, have actual who have an actual claim to the land that in 1947 was called Palestine, to wipe them off the face of the planet in order to turn the Gaza Strip into valuable real estate. This war is no different than any other war in that it is a class war as well as an imperial one. There's a class war in that the ones designing this Zionist project are international bankers, or globalists, as MAGA calls them. Yo, Yankee Tanky in the room. How you doing, sir? Good to have you. But yeah, that sentence alone, like Whiteman being quoted here, these sums of money required to cleanse Gaza in relation to the Israeli economy are minimal, Whiteman posits. Investing individual billions of dollars to solve this difficult issue is an innovative, cheap, and sustainable solution. I mean, just the way that this demon, like this is not a human being writing these words. This is like an actual demon. Talking about human lives who have been who have been murdered under the equivalent weight of a nuclear bomb over the past 17 days. 12,000 tons of explosives dropped on them. White phosphorus burning their flesh. Rubble falling down onto their children and crushing their skulls. Is an innovative, cheap, and sustainable solution to these people for prime real estate on the Gaza Strip. It's reminiscent of what Lindsey Graham talked about in sending young men in Ukraine to die on the front lines in Ukraine in the Bakhmut meat grinder, saying that sending those men to die was the best money that America ever spent. It was a cheap solution to dismantling the Russian army. Like, these people are ghoulish, and they are not shy about it. So the article goes on. Whiteman acknowledged that his plan virtually amounts to Israel, quote, buying the Gaza Strip, arguing the move would be a very worthwhile investment for Zionists because it would add a lot of value over time. He asserted local land conditions in the area would provide many Israeli settlers a high standard of living, therefore allowing for an expansion of settlements in Gush Dan near the Egyptian border, giving a tremendous impetus to settlement in the Negev. Tel Aviv has approved plans to establish 4 settlements in the Negev to house 3,000 settler families in December 2021. It's just all one big real estate scheme. It's all to collect rent. A genocidal war to end all wars. And we'll wrap this up here. Uh, though Egypt has so far rejected Israeli pressure for a mass exodus of Gaza residents through the southern Rafah crossing, the Rafah crossing being the only border crossing between Gaza and Egypt, which has routinely been bombed by Israeli planes. I will remind you. Whiteman argued Cairo will welcome the mass exodus of Palestinian refugees as an immediate stimulus that will provide a tremendous and immediate benefit to the al-Sisi regime. Al-Sisi being the president of Egypt. But this is already on its face a lie. Egypt will never accept these 2 million refugees, not because they don't care about the suffering of the Palestinian people, but because the Egyptian people will not negotiate with the terrorist state of Israel. Like, that's just non-negotiable. They will not negotiate with the terrorist IDF. On top of this, they also know that that to be complicit in these designs would make them complicit in Nakba 2.0. Nakba being Arabic, the Palestinians' name for the catastrophe, the first ethnic cleansing that took place in 1948, when the UN had established, the United Nations had established Israel as this brand new country that popped up that required the displacement of 750,000 Palestinians from their homes, and that's why Gaza exists today as such a cramped ghetto, as such a cramped concentration camp, is because those are the descendants of the 750,000 Palestinians who are pushed. So Palestine, what is now called Israel, is about the size of New Jersey. So you have a third of the population, 750,000 people was a third of their population, being squeezed into this tiny little strip of land. And Egypt is never going to allow a Nakba to occur again, because we've seen what happens with the first Nakba is permanent refugee camps, which now exist in the state of Jordan. There's one other country, at least one other country with Palestinian, like permanent refugee camps in it. But Jordan accepted a lot of these refugees who ended up living in tent cities that exist to this day, 75 years. These refugee camps have remained these squalid, miserable pits of despair that entire generations of people grow up in and die in, because there was no plan to accept them, and there was no infrastructure in place to help these people fleeing Israeli guns. There's no international plan to develop these communities. There's no these people are like just living in permanent homelessness and permanent concentration camps and refugee camps, and that would happen again. The Middle East knows this. They saw it play out once, and that's why half the world does not acknowledge Israel as a real country. Is because from its foundation, from the outset, it has been a project of genocide. So it's for white men to say that, oh, Egypt would welcome the mass exodus as an immediate stimulus. This is a lie that Zionists are telling Western governments to whitewash the genocide that they are designing. It's just a lie. Whiteman claimed that Cairo's major creditors, including France, Germany, and Saudi Arabia, are likely to welcome a revitalized Egyptian economy, courtesy of Israeli investment in the Palestinians' permanent removal. He surmises that Western Europe will welcome the transfer of the entire Gaza population to Egypt because it will significantly reduce the risk of illegal immigration, a tremendous advantage. Like this is really like hard to read. Like this, it like I squirm like reading this stuff because it's he's making genocide out to be an advertisement. Yeah, eminent. Wild to think one born in Gaza or West Bank can still be uh, alive. Yeah, like that's why so many children like if you drop a bomb from an Israeli plane onto Gaza, there's a 50% chance that the person being killed is going to be under the age of 14 because 50% of the people like in Gaza are under the age of 14. The life expectancy there is not high. Like so many people just end up just dying not just from disease but also from these constant projects of harassment, terrorism, extermination that have been going on for 75 years. Uh, so we'll wrap this up. Uh, so yeah, it's just yeah. So you get the point here. Oh man, like this is yeah. We'll skip to the last bit here because the most important parts of any article are always in the last two paragraphs. Um, as barbarous as these proposals might seem, they reflect what many Israeli officials appear to be murmuring in private, and what at least one former government spinmeister has openly pushed as an altruistic solution to the Palestinian problem. Quote, there is a huge expanse, almost endless space in the Sinai desert, just on the other side of Gaza, former Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel Danny Ayalon echoed the genocidal Zionist logic behind Whiteman's proposal in an interview with Al Jazeera's Mark Lamont Hill. Quote, the idea is, and this is not the first time it will be done, for them to leave over to the open areas where we and the international community will prepare the infrastructure. 10 cities with food and water, just like the refugees of Syria. uh, yeah, when 2.5 million people live in a closed off Gaza, it's going to be a human catastrophe. Those people will become even bigger animals than they are today. And that is hard to read. The pressure at the border will be awful. It's going to be a terrible war. So, if we want to remain alive, we will have to kill and kill and kill all day, every day. The only thing that concerns me is how to ensure the boys and men who are going to have to do the killing will be able to return home to their families and be normal human beings. Uh, that is just truly horrendous logic coming out of this the Institute for National Security and Zionist Strategy. Yeah, where they view this as the humanitarian option. Nakba 2.0 to them is the humanitarian militarism, where this, there's no such thing as there's no such thing as as a Zionist left wing or right wing when they're all united in this project of extermination of 2 million people. There's no such thing as a progressive wing of that kind of project. It's just a fantasy that they project on to the population of Gaza to get international consent from not from ordinary people like you and me, but from our governments, who then give the green light to start a wholesale slaughter. Like Egypt isn't going to accept 2 million refugees to have permanent to live in permanent refugee camps in the desert. And so this pressure will just keep building up, as they said in the article here. The pressure will just keep building and building and building. So they're trying to encourage other countries like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United States, and bankers in Germany and France to expedite this diplomatic option to force the country of Egypt to open its gates in order to accept 2 million refugees, because they are fully prepared to kill and kill and kill every single man, woman, and child in Gaza if they don't. That is explicitly what they're setting out to do. So, like, there you have it in writing that there is no humanitarian option in, for the occupation forces in Israel. And it should be said, this is why there is not going to be a two-state solution. It's not just because the Israelis have bombed the citizens of Gaza to the point where nobody in Gaza wants a two-state solution anymore. They might have at one point, but now the terror has gotten so bad that none of them will want a two-state solution. But because the psychopaths in the Zionist government have from the outset had in mind to exterminate these people. Like, this is a zero-sum game here, which cannot be that cannot be resolved through compromise. All diplomatic means of bringing a peace process to pass have been are rapidly being exhausted because Israel never wanted a peace process. Twice, the United States has vetoed proposals for a ceasefire at the UN Security Councils. One proposal being brought by Russia, the other by Brazil, and twice the United States shot down those proposals. Sorry for the weird pause. I'm looking up this institute. I looked it up on Wikispooks, the Miskov Institute for National Security and Zionist Strategy. It's a very short article on Wikispooks. I'm not sure if they created it specifically because of this Grazyzone article. It might be that they did. Yeah, maybe I'll do a little digging on this Wikispooks article, and then I'll give you all an update about it. I'll give you all an update about it in the next stream I do. We do love digging around, because there's so many think tanks out there. Like, I don't know how people like Max Blumenthal keep track of them all. It's a task, let alone to then just get a roster of all the people on these boards who helm these damn shadow institutions. But so that's so go and follow the Grazyzone on X. They do phenomenal work. They have been exposing they've been doing a lot of deep dives into the lies being put out by the Israeli occupation forces. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit here. And then to round off the night, because we've been going for about an hour here. Yeah, I wanted to talk about again, to name drop Jackson Hinkle, just as to pay tribute to the King of America, Jackson Hinkle for President 2036. Trust the plan. It's not just the Israeli media and the Israeli government who are pushing these narratives and normalizing these psychotic plans. It's also shills within the United States who are normalizing this kind of this talk of humanitarian concessions from Gaza, from Israel towards Gaza. Joe Biden has been talking about getting concessions from Israel. Vivek Ramaswamy recently talked about getting concessions from Israel in order to continue getting aid, to have a plan, to have like a rational plan for their ground invasion. This is what that rational plan is. Let's be clear. And then that trickles down towards the mouthpieces for the state, who represent the popular alternate media like Mario Nawfal, who was complaining on his X account that he's being misfairly represented by Gizmodo. Yeah, he had dropped a list on his X account, because this article was saying the was called "The New Elites of X: Identifying the Most Influential Accounts Engaged in Hamas-Israel Discourse." Let me share my screen here so you can see all these accounts. Some of them I do recommend following. Others not so much. But again, you can follow the even people who are crypto Zionists are still worth following in order to keep abreast of the popular talking points from these. That's not it. From those complicit in Zionist war crimes. There we go. So here are the quote unquote new elites of X. You might notice someone missing from this list. So it's 8 people, I believe, 7 people. We have Visegrad 24, a news aggregator talking about current affairs. Mario Nawfal, there he is, who's number 2 on the list, who hosts the largest Twitter Spaces on X.com. He's a crypto guy, I think. Originally, you have OSINT Defender, who Elon Musk also shouted out recently. OSINT Defender and War Monitors, they're War Monitors right there. The 2 accounts that Elon Musk had quoted as the 2 best accounts to follow to cut through the fog of war for the Israel-Palestine conflict. Who's another news aggregator, or quote unquote open source intelligence. You have the Spectator Index, covering politics, economics. War Monitor, who was shouted out by Elon Musk. You have Colin Rugg, another investor turned pundit, and you have Censored Men, alternative media. So these are all the new elites, the alt accounts on X.com. The alt accounts who represent the largest voices shaping the Palestinian conflict. Who's missing from this list, I wonder? Out of the top most viral accounts on X talking about the Gaza genocide? The name on the tip of my tongue. I feel like the list should be 8 people. These people have and it goes down to their numbers here. Breaking down their total views across all items, just how viral. Breaking it, there are the numbers right there. Visegrad 24 has 371 million, almost 372 million views across all items on X. That's an impressive number. Number 1, according to Gizmodo and the article that they are in the research institute that they're quoting. But it feels like they might be leaving out a dark horse in the race. Maybe you've heard of him, a man named Jackson Hinkle, who you might have seen has come out of nowhere in the past week, gained 1 million followers on X, become the 3rd most viral account on the entire platform. And it just is worth mentioning that he's about to overtake Elon Musk's spot for number 2. Is conspicuously absent from this list. we need to correct that. We need to call out Mario Knopfel, and I tweeted at him earlier today. So maybe I'll tell y'all to go and boost that tweet so we can so we can try and ratio Mario Knopfel. I don't think we will, but it will be fun to try. But yeah, just to get on to Get Notice here, the app that Jackson Hinkle uses to track the virality of all of the accounts. Like, it's not even close. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not even close. What Gizmodo and Mario Knopfel are calling, the number one elite is the word that they use. The number one elite account on X being Visegrad 24 with 372 million impressions? I think not. Because if my eyes don't deceive me, Jackson Hinkle here has had 3.1 billion impressions this month. That is almost 10 times, 10x, a factor of 10 times bigger than the so-called number one spot on Mario Knopfel's list. That Mario Knopfel takes issue with, by the way. He doesn't like the wording. He doesn't like the wording of this. And we'll go into why this. Like, we need to expose this controlled opposition that Mario Knopfel represents here. The fact that Jackson Hinkle is missing from this list should prove to you that these people are controlled opposition. Jackson Hinkle has 10 times the amount of views that the next biggest guy has. Like, look at this. Jackson Hinkle, number 3, just below Elon Musk, and is about to overtake Elon Musk tomorrow. 3.1 billion. And let's see who the number 2 is. Let's scroll all the way down. We'll have to do quite a bit. Oh yeah, shout out to Anastasia Maria Lupus, who also got a shout out from Jackson. It's just, again, scrolling all the way down. So yeah, actually, that would make Anastasia Maria Lupus number 2. Visegrad 24 isn't even number 2. He's number 3. Crazy. All the way down here. Where is he? Oh, and Censored Men. And Censored Men was also on that list at the bottom. Yeah, 825 million. Look at number 39. 39. Jackson Hinkle, number 3. The next biggest account on the list, all the way down at number 39. It's not even close. The embarrassing thing, the most embarrassing thing, I have to scroll all the way down here to find Mario Knopfel. Mario Knopfel doesn't even make it in the top 100. Where is this guy? God, he's not even in the top 110. Where is this guy? 117. Right beneath the mark of the beast, Laura Loomer. Federal agent deep Mossad agent Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer, who has admitted to be trained by intelligence Mossad agents. Mario Knopfel is 117. With a mere 385 million impressions. Jackson Hinkle has nearly 10 times the amount of impressions that this guy does. Where's Jackson Hinkle on that list? Yeah, if Jackson started ending spaces, Mario wouldn't even get half the people Jackson would have in his space. I think Jackson might have gone onto a Mario Knopfel space today. I'll have to check the recording because they did name drop him. So I'll have to check. But yeah, they can't ignore him anymore. They name dropped him. I'm pretty sure he went on the space. So yeah, they're trying to ignore him now. This sort of petty, I pretend I do not see it approach. That's not going to last very long. Oh yeah, there's Jack Glosobiak, by the way. All these intelligence assets. DC Drano, controlled opposition. Laura Loomer, controlled opposition. Mario Knopfel, crypto Zionist. Jack Posobiec, actual naval intelligence spook. There's Soleiman Ahmed. We like Soleiman Ahmed, who actually I didn't know this worked with Mario before they had a falling out over this over this Zionist split over like after the start of the Al-Aqsa flood and the resulting Israeli massacre. Those two had a falling out. But a weird thing is that Suleiman had pointed out on one of his own spaces that even though they have similar rankings in size, Suleiman gets a lot more engagement. So they get a similar amount of impressions, hovering around the high 300 million, a number of impressions. But Suleiman gets far many more engagements. His audience is much more engaged. So in terms of defining the narrative, like people who are actually engaging with what he has to say and not just like scrolling past his post, like looking at it and going bruh, and then scrolling past. Suleiman is far more influential than Mario Nawfal. Where's Suleiman on that list? Like the controlled opposition here is palpable. Just how infiltrated this this movement is. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he used bots because according to someone who worked with Mario, who only recently had a falling out with Mario in those spaces, very lucrative joint venture. Yeah, I mean, like he gets more engagements than Mario. I wouldn't be surprised if he uses bots to get that to generate that kind of impression count. I mean, he is you know what they have in common? All of the people that were listed on that article is they're all friends with Elon Musk. Elon Musk gave a shout out to OSINT Defender and War Monitor. He's actively friends with Mario Nawfal. Like all of these people have, the reason that Mario had posted about this on his account, and let me see if I can pull this up so I can get it in his words. The reason he wanted to like point this out was because he thought he was being unfairly attacked by hardcore Zionists and being like shadow banned and canceled and being misrepresented. But what Elon Musk calls like this a platform of free speech, we're finding out is like really just his personal platform to designing like this controlled opposition of crypto Zionists like Mario Nawfal, who all support like Elon Musk's version of like the narrative of the Israeli Palestinian conflict, where they're willing to give all of this breathing room to they're willing to quote unquote like criticize like the most hardcore bloodthirsty Zionist settlers and IDF soldiers, but they're still pushing this ethnic cleansing, this right for Israel to defend itself, which in practice means bombing children. Still willing to give like all of this space to these people and let them just expose their their viewpoints, and then saying that it's okay to be murdering children to drop bombs from the sky. But yeah, so yeah, here's Mario's tweet. He's like, mainstream media got what, and so that makes him alt media. I hate alt media. They're all just paid opposition. Anyone who calls themselves alt media is paid opposition. Mainstream media admits citizen journalism is easily outpacing established mainstream news outlets. As we saw during FTX and the Russian mutiny, we're again dominating mainstream media in live coverage during the current war. And again, the media is trying to discredit us. Oh, boo-hoo. Oh, like, what do you think was going to happen, Mario? Like, yeah, you're dealing with, like, Mario Knopfler like has this fantasy that he's a citizen journalist, but he's not a citizen journalist if he's actively being a mouthpiece for Elon Musk to push the PayPal mafia to push the same crypto Zionist finance schemes, as the quote unquote like libertarian wing of the Likud party in Israel, of allowing war criminals onto your Twitter spaces to justify the dropping bombs on Gaza. Like, they're not. It's so disgusting that Mario calls himself like, oh, he's against Zionism when he's clearly not, and he's not being discredited. He's just not. He's just wanting more of a platform than he's already been given. He would have a bigger platform if he became more of an open Zionist. And that see this with people like Laura Loomer, like actual shameless grifters, like Laura Loomer, who have so readily become bloodthirsty Zionists. Maybe they always were. Probably, actually, no, she always was. But like this, they're just like sucking the dicks of the IDF to get easy clicks, to break the top 100 most viral X accounts. Like, Mario's not being discredited. He's not banned from anything. He's just not leaning as hard into like the more psychopathic policies of Zionist apartheid and genocide that's the ruling elites want him to. And so he's at the appropriate level that they've deemed him to be in the totem pole of Twitter virality. And he still gets paid more than Jackson Hinkle. Jackson Hinkle gets 10 times the amount, and this is, I know he gets paid a lot more because Soliman Ahmed, who worked with Mario, said it was a very lucrative position to be partnered with that guy. So he doesn't even break the top 100, and he gets paid more than Jackson Hinkle, who only makes like $300 a month in ad revenue, even though he's more popular on the platform than Elon Musk. Nobody's discrediting Mario. To insist otherwise is so disgusting. Like, and that's all that these people have in common. They're all friends with Elon Musk, and they're all which is why I really applaud Jackson for like going right to the start rather than fight with these guys. He just goes right to Elon Musk. He sees this. He's smart enough to see this, and had posted earlier today just demanding that Elon Musk give access to Starlink to Gaza. Just like, if he was willing to do that to the Ukrainian army, why not give Starlink to Gaza? Gaza has no internet access. They're in immediate blackout right now. Why not give Starlink to Gaza? Jackson knows. It's not worth getting into these squabbles with these crypto Zionists who are just like to give them more credit than they're worth, when you could just go right for their leader, right for their financer, Elon Musk, and say, hey, like, if you actually say that you're like for peace and for like ending suffering and for like standing with the Palestinian people rather than pushing for Nakba 2.0, why don't you give Starlink to these people so that they can have internet access? Oh, you're not going to, because that is going to give them access to. We thought the exposure of Israeli war crimes was bad. Now, in the middle of no internet access and a media blackout, if they were actually given the resources that they needed to communicate with the outside world, it would blow the lid off of the scope of this genocide. And that's and that's what makes these crypto Zionists so insidious and disgusting, is that they're going to siphon all of this popular energy away from actually holding people in power accountable to to calling for a ceasefire, getting resources to Gaza, having an international tribunal against the war criminals in the Israeli occupation forces. They're pulling away from that momentum towards this fantasy of a humanitarian option. It's disgusting. Saying now it's our responsibility on X to avoid misinformation as we lead the citizen journalism movement. He's not leading shit. He's not even in the top 100. He's just auditioning for more money. Like the people who are actually like experts on this, on this issue, who have been experts in geopolitics and foreign conflict for decades, like Samira Khan, like Syrian Girl, like the team that leads DD Geopolitics. They're actually leading the conversation. Take Jackson Hinkle out of the equation for a second. Jackson's just the most popular. Yeah, I like the guy, but he's only been doing this for 3 years, and and we owe him like we owe him an immense amount of gratitude for breaking through to to the mainstream, to getting to becoming like the most popular American communist ever. But he wouldn't have gotten where he is today without educators and warriors such as Samira, as Syrian Girl, as Haz al-Din, who are the actual intellectual foundations of the conversation. It's just we're getting I'd bookmarked a video, a clip of a Mario space taken by Benjamin Rubenstein, who should also follow. He's the brother of Alex Rubenstein, who works for the Grazyzone. I do like Benjamin a lot. He also does a lot of good journalistic work on X. You should follow him. Ben F. Rubenstein on X. He had taken a clip. I'm going to play this for y'all. He had taken a clip from one of Mario Nawfal's spaces where a member of the IDF was exposing war crimes that he had committed in Gaza. It's crazy that Mario's just allowing these people to just get away with just normalizing this shit, not pushing back on it at all. Ben Rubenstein here, shameless war criminal Shay Kalach, was exposed today. This was a week ago on 10 days ago on October 14th. Shay Kalach was exposed today in Mario Nawfal space, having admitted to me he bombed Gaza. Unfortunately, I was silenced and removed from the space. So instead, Mario Benjamin Rubenstein is the one getting discredited and silenced here, not you. It's so disingenuous. So yeah, hopefully someday these spaces will be cited in an international tribunal on Israeli war crimes. Here's a clip from a space.
Thanks, Mario.
Where IDF.
Thanks, Mario. Could you just give me a brief update on any rules?
Yeah, so let me play it from the beginning here. So listen to this.
Thanks, Mario. Could you just give me a brief update on any rule changes?
No rule change. Like we're pretty flexible to use any terminology now. We're a lot more understanding. But if we can keep the question focused, so we can get all 4 questions in, if you don't mind, Benjamin. And then any other points you can make afterwards.
Okay, great. So there's an Israeli pilot in here. I guess my question to you, I have 2, or maybe more. Is have you ever flown over Gaza?
Shai, you gotta unmute, so it's the bottom left.
That's
corner.
Ben. That was Ben talking.
Yes, of course. What's the question?
Well, have you ever dropped a bomb?
Of course.
So you know that a ground war, is necessary to take a place, and I think Hezbollah has been really clear that they're probably going to get involved if you guys go in a ground war and actually try to kill Hamas, because you will need like 100,000 or more to kill Hamas, and I don't actually think it's plausible you're successful. I mean, this is a guerrilla
we have 400,000 waiting.
No, sure, absolutely. But then you're going to trigger Hezbollah, and you'll have to worry about a ground war in Tel Aviv. So I think right now what we're seeing is a degree of arrogance that is really unfortunate, and comes because, sure, there's 2 battleships waiting. But what the risk here is that this is going to provoke a regional war, and I don't know if the international community is willing to do that for Israel, because
I'm a Jew.
I'm a Jew. So what I'm hearing,
I have a question for you, sir. Do you love Israel?
No, I'm a Jew. I don't love Israel. Israel is in apartheid state under,
So you don't love Israel. Am I right?
No, Israel doesn't speak for me, and Israel doesn't speak for all the Jews.
So for me, I prefer to
be. Okay, so does Israel speak for all Jews?
Prefer
that's an important question too.
Okay, so Rega, we're getting really off topic here. Let's leave the political ideology.
What a crazy question to ask someone when you just admitted to dropping a bomb on civilians.
Logical questions aside, his time is limited.
Mario, thank you very much. I just would like to say any last sentence.
It's me. It's Zev. Mario.
I would like to say.
Yeah, I'm here as well.
And that was Mario interjecting. That was Mario interjecting, because that's when you expose that's the kind of guy you're allowing onto your spaces, this war criminal, this Israeli pilot who drops bombs on civilians. That's when he realizes he needs to silence actual citizen journalists, real citizen journalists. I know, actually, he's not even a citizen. Ben Rubenstein is just a journalist, but like real voices in the in the conflict who are exposing literally exposing war criminals. Like Benjamin Rubenstein, kicked him off of that space. Mario's the one giving these war criminals a platform and not pushing back against their war crimes, calling them out for what they are. It's insane.
So I'm here. Go ahead, Shai.
I would like to say, for all of you that do not love Israel, I prefer to be a hatred country than a beloved Auschwitz. Okay.
Gaza is the.
So I have a question.
No, it's not.
No.
So I'll go.
I mean, okay. So at least you're not using Zyklon B. Instead, you're using white.
It's okay.
Benjamin, listen.
Yes, yeah.
So we're getting off topic here. Let's be respectful. Benjamin, you have your own opinions about Israel.
Let's be respectful to the bloodthirsty war criminal dropping bombs on Israeli civilians. And Benjamin was kicked from that space. This happened 10 days ago, and this is just the kind of platform that Mario gives to people like this. This is not the first time he's hosted war criminals, by the way. DD Geopolitics had posted underneath that post. Mario has also had the Georgian Legion on his panel, the same Georgian Legion that filmed themselves executing Russian POWs. That's not alt media That's not, like a dissident voice fighting for for the rights of the people, exposing mainstream media lies. Like, no, that's just giving an alternate platform. That's not an alternate media for normal citizens who are tired of war. You are an alternate media for the war criminals. Those, like the war criminals who couldn't get a mainstream media slot, have to settle for your alternate platform because they couldn't get an interview on CNN. So they have to settle with bootleg CNN, which is Mario Nawfal's Twitter Spaces. Like the Georgian Legion torturers now having IDF torturers. Nobody is discrediting this guy. Nobody's demonetizing this guy. Jackson Hinkle's the one who has been kicked off of YouTube, kicked off of PayPal and Twitch. The Grazyzone was kicked off of GoFundMe. There, Max Blumenthal was the one who was arrested back in 2019 for doing his job of exposing Syrian war crimes. Those are the people being discredited and slandered and attacked and demonetized and smeared. And yet, the people that follow them, the reason their accounts have been growing exponentially is because they represent an alternate path for the truth to get out there. Which is why you're never going to see Elon Musk admit that Jackson Hinkle is about to overtake him, is about to become the most popular, most viral platform on X is going to be an anti-imperialist, Stalinist, an American communist, the a man who has been published by the Communist Party of North Korea, who has been in correspondence with great leaders of Russia and South Africa and Afghanistan and North Korea. You're never going to see Elon Musk admit that. He's going to allow his cronies to be this safety valve for popular sentiment that is actually pushing back against war, against genocide, against this global unipolarity that funds all of this chaos. They're trying to ignore Jackson right now, but it's becoming untenable. And once they start having to deal with him, to start wrestling with him in an actual acknowledgement and a face-to-face conversation, they will not be able to hold back the tide of popular sentiment against them once it is exposed how they are complicit in Zionist genocide and globalist schemes of getting us all involved in more war. So it is our utmost responsibility to defend the warriors of truth and to continue holding no quarter with Zionists, whether they be outspoken Zionists like the war criminal in Mario Nawfal's space or crypto Zionists like Mario Nawfal himself. Continue to expose the war crimes going on in Gaza and the West Bank. Continue to push for a one-state solution, which is a Palestinian state, and the dissolution of Israel because Israel is a terrorist state. Continue to demand an end to all foreign aid from the U.S. government to these countries that just goes into fueling their war machines in Israel, in Ukraine, in Taiwan, or wherever. Continue keeping the pressure on. keep the conversation going and defend Jackson Hinkle from the likes of these intelligence assets like Laura Loomer, whether they be like leftoids or rightoids. I can't even remember the names of the leftoids because they're so irrelevant and have not controlled the popular narrative since the collapse of BLM in 2020 after Biden banished them to the shadow realm. Like, they're not even relevant anymore. Now our fight is against the rightoids, who actually have some control over the popular narrative. We must defend people who are taking the golden Stalinist center. So that's the message I have for all of you watching today. Because Jackson Hinkle has shouted out the Barracks, which we salute him for, we are now officially a part of the axis of based. The Barracks has broken 600 followers on YouTube. It is our responsibility to defend these gains and to continue defending our leader. So go and follow the Barracks on Telegram, on Rumble, because now that we are in the axis of based, the censorship is going to come for us too. So follow us at those accounts. I've dropped the link tree in the comments there. The link tree is in the comments on in the X live stream. So in the next few months, as the live streaming capabilities on X stop being garbage, because they're pretty garbage right now, they're going to get better. Follow the Barracks on Telegram. Follow the Barracks on Rumble. Like and subscribe to the YouTube video now. The axis of based grows bigger and stronger every day. Let's go. Let's see some energy in the chat. Let's fucking go. 600 followers on YouTube, nearing 10,000 followers on X. The people's deep state is unstoppable. Our momentum grows every single day. The Golden Horde demands tribute in the chat. Where's the energy in the chat? The leader of the Golden Horde, Jackson Hinkle, and his many generals demand tribute in the chat rooms. But yeah, let's keep that energy going. I hope to be able to do a live stream sometime before next week. Now that we have had this boost, now that we're past 600 followers, I hope to do another stream soon. Again, I do work 60 hours a week, so it is tough for me. I would like to do it at a normal hour. But, we try and find the space where we can in the guerrilla warriors. Guerrillas in this info war. With that, thank you all for watching this stream. You can clip it, wrap it up, put a bow on it. We covered a lot today. We're closing in on 2 hours right now. So I appreciate all of you who stuck around the stream this long. I appreciate those who stuck around back when it was just 10 followers on YouTube. Here's to the next 500. Next milestone will break 1,000. And then 5,000. And then 50,000. We cannot be slowed down. The Zionist regime is being ratioed every single day. We will do our part to continue ratioing the Zionists, exposing their lies, holding up their war crimes in front of them. Because no one else, if they had their way, I know it's hard to look at these videos of all these dead children, but if they had their way, no one would be seeing those videos, and all those videos would be put in the dark. So yeah, it's our responsibility to keep this momentum going. I appreciate y'all so much who have stuck with us for getting this far. Here's to the next 500. Until then, that's all I got, folks. I'm out.